Pepper is a humanoid robot.
Hi, how are you?
The programmers here at ZoraBots in Belgium teach their robots to operate as receptionists and carers and companions, among other things. But what if robots like Pepper get so smart through artificial intelligence they could commit a crime?
We're producing software for robots, and this is more key because we make the robots do things, so we must be really careful what the robots can and cannot do.
The European Parliament wants a clear set of EU laws to decide who's to blame if a robot is used to commit a crime, or commits one accidentally, either the manufacturer, the operator, or even perhaps the robot itself. The European Parliament's proposals aren't only covering humanoid robots like Zora here, are they?
No, they're not. Check.
There's also driverless cars, drones, medical robots, and robots used in industry. And as the technology expands, new uses are springing up all the time. Lawmakers also have concerns about the amount of data robots will have access to, and with many more robots set to enter people's homes, they're worried the machines could be used to spy on people. There are also fears about job losses, as robots take over positions from people.
But it is clear that this has to be transparent and clear to the customer, because otherwise these robots will never, there will be no trust, and trust is what we need.
This proposal is just the first step in putting together European legislation, which could include a rule to ensure all robots have a kill switch to shut them off if something goes wrong, and the EU might set up a special agency to deal with just robotics law. Robots like Pepper and Zora could end up being given special legal status as an electronic person.
Christian persecution rose in 2016 for the third year in a row. More than 200 million Christians, or 1 in 12 worldwide, are persecuted. The new World Watch list from the group Open Doors USA found that the most dangerous place for Christians is North Korea. Not surprising, but most of the worst nations on the list are Muslim nations. Believers face torture, beheadings, rape, and the loss of their homes. New Jersey Congressman Chris Smith says the situation for Iraqi Christians is dire. He says the U.S. government must do more.
It has been a profound disappointment that the Obama administration has refused to provide U.S. tax dollars to those most in need.
Open Doors USA says it hopes the Trump administration will address Christian persecution during its first 100 days in office.
This morning, newly uncovered allegations against Fox News. The cable network reportedly reached a financial settlement regarding sexual harassment allegations, this time against star anchor Bill O'Reilly.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight.
In a draft of a letter of complaint obtained by lawnews.com, a website owned by Dan Abrams, ABC News chief legal analyst, Juliette Huddy, a former Fox News host who had a segment on the O'Reilly factor, claims she was replaced after rebuffing several sexual advances from O'Reilly.
I don't know how to explain this, Juliette Huddy.
The document alleges in 2011, O'Reilly gave Huddy a tour of his home, where he allegedly moved in and kissed her on the lips. Huddy's lawyers saying she allegedly recoiled and actually fell to the ground. Huddy's lawyers claiming the following week O'Reilly allegedly took her to a Broadway show, dropped the key to his hotel room into Miss Huddy's lap, and when she went to return it, Mr. O'Reilly opened the door wearing nothing but boxer shorts. They allege O'Reilly retaliated on and off the air.
I think you do, Bill. We would not have this on the show if you didn't care.
You can think whatever you want. I don't care whether it's banned or not.
Huddy, who worked at Fox for 18 years, also claims she was sexually harassed by current Fox News co-president Jack Abernethy, alleging that early on in her career at Fox, he pursued a personal relationship with her, and when she rejected him, he began trashing her. A Fox News spokesperson telling ABC News Juliette Huddy's letter of intent to sue contained substantial falsehoods, which both men vehemently denied.
More than 85% of police officers say their work is harder today as a result of high-profile incidents between law enforcement and black citizens. That's according to a survey from the Pew Research Center published Wednesday. The survey drew on the experiences and attitudes of nearly 8,000 policemen and women.
According to this research and these polls, 7 in 10 officers say that there is a reluctance to stop people. Another three-quarters of officers say that there is a reluctance to use force. 3/4 of officers say that there is increased tension between blacks and police. And so if you are running a police department across the country, you're seeing those numbers, and perhaps you're surprised, but I've talked to a lot of people in law enforcement who say that they aren't surprised by those numbers. In fact, this is a trend that they have been seeing really over the last year or so, maybe even longer than that.
And the U.S. military admits to have killed 33 civilians in self-defense in Kunduz, Afghanistan last November. In a statement, the U.S. military said U.S. forces fired at civilian homes that Taliban fighters had been using as bases for attack. And the commander of U.S. troops in Afghanistan, General John Nicholson, says he feels deep regret for the loss of innocent lives, and the United Nations is investigating the matter and will release its findings by the end of this month.
Muslims are turning to Christ in large numbers across the Middle East, according to the Christian Post. The report says Muslims are turning to Jesus Christ and are viewing Christianity as, quote, the religion of freedom and amid persecution in their country. The Voice of the Martyrs of Canada said, quote, there are thousands upon thousands coming to Christ. There are now an estimated 366,000 Christian believers in Iran, which is up from only 500 in 1979. And church leaders believe that millions can be added to the church in the coming years.
When Kai Klepfer points this .40 caliber handgun, it fires like any other weapon. But watch what happens when I give it a try. That clicking sound could signal a revolution in gun safety. The first firearm with the same built-in security as many smartphones.
This is the fingerprint sensor.
If the gun is picked up by an authorized user, this sensor recognizes the fingerprint and
it'll fire. It'll fire.
Klepfer thinks he has the technology to make them a reality.
I think this could be huge. I think it could really be the future of firearms.
He's the founder of BioFire, a startup still headquartered in his parents' house in Boulder, Colorado. Now a freshman at MIT, Klepfer started work on his gun as part of a science project when he was 15 years old.
There'd be days where I'd sit down and I'd look up 14 hours later. I hadn't moved from the spot, I hadn't thought about anything else.
He realized he couldn't stop mass shootings, but he thought he could still save lives. After all, in 1 year alone, nearly 600 people died in firearm accidents. There were thousands more suicides, many committed with guns that do not belong to the victim.
Why did it take 4.5 years to put a fingerprint reader on the side of a gun?
Well, it's not as simple of a process as you might imagine. It's not really something anybody's ever done before.
Klepfer's weapon doesn't only lock like a smartphone, it charges like one.
It's about as simple as it gets.
And the invention has won him some deep-pocketed allies.
Kai is the Mark Zuckerberg of guns.
Ron Conway was an early investor in Google and Facebook. Now, he's putting his money behind Klepfer's smart gun.
What Kai has done is used all of the latest technology available to us to innovate a truly authenticated gun. You couldn't do this 5 years ago.
But a push for similar guns misfired memorably in the late 1990s. A Colt prototype failed in a major demonstration, and Smith & Wesson dropped its smart gun program after resulting boycotts nearly bankrupted the company.
What has changed from then until now to make it possible to make a smart gun like the one you're working on?
I would argue pretty much everything.
Well, almost everything.
Good intentions don't necessarily make good inventions.
Steven Sinetti is president of the National Shooting Sports Foundation, the main trade group for companies that make and sell guns. He expressed concern about the reliability of any firearm that depends on battery power.
The firearm has to work, and a firearm is not the same as a cell phone. The consequences of a cell phone not working are inconvenience. The consequences of a firearm not working could be someone's life.
How reliable is the gun?
It's relatively reliable. I know, like, when I'm using it, when I'm testing it, it functions almost every single time.
But not every time, as we saw firsthand when Klepfer's prototype, a modified Glock 22, failed.
It's red.
That's hot. That'll shoot.
He shorted it.